Hey yo, what's up everybody? Today we're here to take a look back and review the events of Wuthering Waves Chapter 2 Act 6. First of all, man, Acts 5 and 6 were both really well done, but I gotta say, it's kinda confusing, like a little bit, especially because we were giving so many questions by the end of Act 5 with not really many answers. A few of those lingering questions, lingering tunes if you will, were what's Carda's relationship with Lupa? What's Lupa's relationship with Mia? What's Mia's relationship with the Zenodian? And what actually is this mysterious dream world that Frolova's unnamed associate has created? Well, today, we're getting into all of that, but not in a play-by-play where I review the story in the order that it unfolds. Because of the way this story goes down, the updates we get to the main storyline in both Act 6 and 7, I think it would be just better to do more of a chronological explainer and review all the things that we've come to know so far. By the way, if you like these types of recap videos, please be sure to like and share. It really does a lot to help me continue bringing you awesome videos just like this one. Without further ado, let's get it. So how did we get to where we are by the end of Act 6? Well, we have to go back a ways, because while it seems like everything is occurring in the moment, this story is a long time in the making. It's like a giant squid with tentacles tracing back to huge events of the past. Of course, we all remember the first Dark Tide, eventually defeated by the Sentinel and Napoli II. Now, if you don't remember the first Dark Tide, it's okay. You can check out this video and that should tell you more about it. But anyway, what we learn is that the first Dark Tide didn't stop at Ragunna. We learned that it also impacted Septimon. Now, it didn't affect Septimon as badly, and that's for a number of reasons. But one of which is that Septimon is essentially an entire nation of warriors. They were just like, oh, you said the tacit discords are pouring from the sky? Okay, bet. Pass me my spear. Happy hunting, warriors. Let's get it. They legit championed the art of fighting. But furthermore, the other reason is that Septimontians don't really believe in the Sentinel like that. They place all their faith in their warriors. There are no clergymen and no Order of the Deep in Septimon. And if you remember, Leviathan Zenodian acts almost like a mind virus where it infects people through their religious beliefs. After the first Dark Tide, the Zenodian had been trying to create a resonator to act through, a way to manifest itself and walk amongst the people to spread its spiritual plague. Of course, we know this ultimately results in the creation of Carda, but let's rewind a little bit more, because the Zenodian had been trying to create a resonator for a long time, and each time it ended in failure. One of its previous attempts resulted in the creation of Mia. We, the player, know Mia from Septimon's story, but Mia wasn't originally from Septimon. She was from Ragunna, a devout follower of the teachings of the Order. She came to Septimon to become a gladiator. Now, why would someone from Ragunna, of all places, have such an ambition in a faraway land? The answer to this question will become clearer soon enough. Remember Act 5, where we saw visions of the past, where we saw Mia with her hysterics, her hallucinations, and her loss of control in the arena. These were all signs of the Zenodian's corruption. 20 years ago, Mia competed in the Great Agon, then called the Bloody Agon. And after winning the Great Agon, in keeping with tradition, Mia came to the Veil of Glory, and it was there that she went missing. But why? To understand the significance of her going missing there at the Veil of Glory, we first have to understand the significance of this place and why it's so important. Why is the Veil of Glory so special? Well, we learned from Lupa at the start of Act 6 that it's basically a burial site for heroes and legendary warriors of the past. Or maybe I should say their weapons, because on the long path of hunting or fighting, many die without their bodies ever being discovered. There, at the Veil of Glory, the weapons of the fallen are placed. These weapons still carry the will of their former masters, and touching these weapons itself is a rite of great importance and something reserved only for those who claim victory in the great agon. Because hearing the voices of their ancestors while standing by Arsenos' side is a source of strength for Septimontians. But there's one other key thing that makes this ritual at the Veil of Glory so important. The Veil of Glory houses Septimont's central hub. The central hub is only accessible when two conditions are met. 1, the presence of Arsenosa, and 2, the champion of Septimont's great agon. The Thernotian had plans to use Mia to access Septimont's central hub, corrupt the beacon system, and spread the dark tide from Septimont all throughout Rinascita. Finally, all this scheming and shaping of their glorious resonator was about to pay off. The Thernotian was finally taking control of Mia's body right there at the Veil of Glory. But rather than allowing herself to be fully corrupted and used by the Thernotian, Mia sacrificed herself, stabbing herself in the chest and leaping into the sea, choking on her own blood. Sometime after the death of Mia, Leviathan Thernotian was like, it's time for me to get another girl. So it created Carda. It gave her a fake family and really a whole backstory to match. However, after Cardi became the Blessed Maiden, her family totally forgets all those false memories that were placed in their heads and their time with Carda. If they saw Carda right now, they wouldn't even know who she was. But, something tells me that this erasure of memory isn't something that just affected Cardi's parents. Because she once mentioned that people don't even remember her anymore, which might be implying that all those people from her village, Whispering Wind Haven, had their memory of her wiped as well. Fast forwarding a bit, this all makes our encounter with Cristoforo in Act 2 make even more sense. After searching and searching, he couldn't find any info about Carda. Why was he searching for information on her in the first place? Well, he wanted to write a play. But knowing what we know now about him mentioning that he wants to write a play means so much more. In Act 7, it's revealed that Cristoforo's original plan was to essentially mold Carda into the Thernotian. But because of our actions, that plan with Carda became impossible, or at least significantly more difficult to exact. So this is where Mia comes into play. After the Inverted Tower's resurgence, a piece of the Thernotian's essence once again reawakened in Mia's body. The Phraxides retrieved Mia's body from the sea and placed it in that incubator pod that Carda destroys at the start of Act 5. Cristoforo's new inspiration, his current plan, is to nurture the Thernotian's lingering power by looping a sonoro sphere to resurrect the Thernotian and possess Mia's body, and then overlay that sonoro onto reality. He wants to spark off another dark tide to cover all of Rinascita. The conditions for creating such a sonoro that will allow him to even do this and bring what's in the sonoro into the real world requires certain conditions. Those conditions being that his scripts have to be based on real world events and real people. And the people of these events need to be an identical or at least a close match so that he can overwrite the real world with his play. His goal was to bring a Thernotian-possessed Mia into the real world. And Lupa is a perfect match for his plan. Lupa loves and idolizes Mia. Mia loved gladiating. Lupa loves gladiating. Mia was adored by fans but secretly doubted herself. So does Lupa. Lupa loves and idolizes Mia so much that she's even willing to compromise her principles for her. She obviously hates match fixing, But when talking about Mia, she mentions that some people suspected Mia of winning because of match fixing. But then she says she doesn't even care if those rumors are true or not. By the way, speaking of match fixing, that leads us to Domina Julia. Domina Julia was colluding with the Fraxidas, and she was tasked with finding the perfect champion to win the Great Agon. Why? Because this would be both yet another similarity between Mia and fit one of the main conditions for accessing the central hub. This is why Domina Julia was rigging matches, to ensure that the person she needed to win was able to do so. To exact this plan, Cristoforo trapped Lupa's frequency in a looping sonoro. Each time she dies, she loses more of herself, more of her role in the story, to the point where she doesn't even remember her name in the sonoro realm. Once enough of her is erased and the play concludes, he can overlay the sonoro onto reality, erasing Lupa and replacing her with Mia. Now, it really wasn't a part of Cristoforo's plan for Carda to be there, but she is also trapped in his sonoro, albeit she wanted to be in his sonoro because she sensed the Thenodian's energy returning. So while in this sonoro, she starts working to help Lupa, and she refuses to leave the last page of the play to prevent the loop from fully completing as intended. In order for them to escape this sonoro and for Lupa to get her role back, Cardi hatched a plan. And this plan was to place part of her frequency onto Lupa. She was banking on our curiosity and ability to piece together the puzzle. She knew that once we did, we'd be able to help. And this is why we sensed Carda around Lupa, but neither one of us could answer why. After this, the story of Rover in Septimont essentially continues as we know it from Act 5 all the way to this point, with everything I talked about before in the background of the past and ongoing events. Act 6 really kicks off pretty much right after the start. Rover and Lupa head to the Veil of Glory, and once there, Arsinosa stands before a wall with strange markings, and it extends its hand. Then it signals for Rover to do the same. When Rover extends their hand, this wall opens and reveals a doorway. This is the entrance to the central hub. Shortly after entering, Leviathan Thenodian was like, now is my chance. And it tries to possess Lupa right on the spot. It compels her to break a structure containing more of its essence. And it tried to replace her with Mia. But Rover was having none of that. We used Sentinel Imperator's power to split Lupa and the Thenodian. Instead of saving the day, Rover put the clues together to figure out that Lupa needed to be the one to defeat Mia and become the protagonist of her own story. She needed to win back the role in Cristoforo's play. As far as I can tell, Rover couldn't even do this if they tried without killing Lupa. So Rover gives Lupa the script, Buling's mirror, and tells her to take her role back in the sonoro. After this, Lupa enters the sonoro realm, and the rest of the story is essentially uncovering pretty much a number of the things that we already talked about before. This all ends in an epic showdown between Lupa and Thenodian possessed Mia. Lupa defeats possessed Mia and she wins her role back, allowing her and Carda to break free of the sonoro, foiling Cristoforo's plot to strengthen and restore the Thenodian. The Mia in the real world collapses right in front of Rover. Cardi confronts Cristoforo and Scar, but they both teleport away. And then Lupa exits the sonoro, finally able to meet Carda in the real world. And that is pretty much all for the story of Chapter 2, Act 6. Man, I was really thinking about the best way to be able to explain this one, man. I typed way too much trying to find the groove. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video nonetheless. And if you did, please don't forget to hit that like button to show your support. That is all I have for you guys today. And until next time, I'll catch you in the waves. Peace.